Good evening, you all. I thought I'd give the evening a try on seeing how my video turns out. Anyway, welcome back. This is segment 3 of the story of my life, and my name is Eugene Jepson, for those that don't know. As I mentioned before, there will likely be up to 25 segments or thereabouts. So, on with my story. Several months had went by, and just like any other baby, my mother would lay me down for a nap so she could get some housework done. But I didn't like taking naps and wouldn't stay down for very long. I wanted to be wherever the action was, or where with the rest of my family. I was either too rambunctious or thought that too much of the world was passing me by. I didn't want to be left out or stay in bed to rest. What would be the fun in that anyway? I'd crawl out of my crib, tumble onto the floor, and without a sound, I was out there. Even to this day, I find it hard to sleep during the daytime, and sometimes I have to cover my head at night to block out the light. Another day, my mom had laid me down for a nap, and my dad decided he needed to go buy a new car and invited those of the family that wanted to go with him for a ride. I didn't want to be left out, and even though all I had on was a diaper, they decided to take me with them. After a little while, my mom went in to check on me, and I was gone. And since she was unable to find me anywhere, she called the police. They had arrived by the time that we got back, and my dad frantically ran up the hill to see what was going on. He relieved her by telling her that I was safe and had been with him the whole time. So the emergency personnel left. Man, it would have been nice to have cell phones back then, but they hadn't been made public yet. One day after lunch, my mom had left me in my high chair, and when I got done eating, she handed me a ball to play with and turned her back to doing the dishes. I suppose I wanted to play catch because the minute she turned, I threw the ball and it hit her. She picked it up and returned the ball to me and turned her back to doing the dishes. I threw the ball and hit her again. And that time, she decided not to give me back the ball and she took it away. How rude. What else is a boy supposed to do with the ball? All I wanted to do was play catch. One day my mom was preparing a primary lesson on her bed and had laid me down next to her, hoping that I would take a nap. Not wanting to hold still though, I crawled on her back to ride piggyback style, and she'd roll over, dumping me onto the bed. I must have taken that as a challenge, and I kept crawling and climbing back onto her back several more times. The last time she decided she'd change it up a bit and she rolled the opposite direction, but she didn't realize how close she was to the edge of the bed, and I fell off and onto the floor head first. She picked me up, consoled me a while, and made sure that I was all right, then sent me out to play. Also, around the same time, I had been in my high chair and I pushed myself away from the table and fell backwards, hitting my head. Then another day, everyone had gone downstairs to watch television, and wanting to be with them, I decided to follow them, and I tumbled down the stairs where I hit my body and head on the fireplace. And yet another day, my mom was trying to give me a shower, and while doing so, she was trying to prevent me from slipping around in the bathtub. The best idea that she could come up with was wrapping her fingers around my arm and holding on tight. This kept me from falling, but it must have been like an ice skating rink because I was slipping and sliding around everywhere. Her grip must have bruised my muscles because everywhere she had placed her fingers, there are little bones that grew there, and you can still feel them today. So as you can see, my condition is permanent. It, if anything, it changes for the worst. Even though I don't remember much about these days, one of the earliest memories I have was of a lady by the name of Helen Angel. She was one of my mom's best friends in Mountain Green and one of our babysitters. She was a really nice older lady that only had the use of one of her arms due to the other being partially cut off in a machine accident at a previous job. I vaguely remember her trying to use her stubbed arm to hold me down as she was trying to change my diaper. But as you can imagine, I was quite the wiggly baby and I didn't like holding still, so this must have been quite the feat. After these incidents or accidents had happened, my mom took me to have x-rays to see and make sure nothing had been broken. But thankfully nothing had. But for the next few weeks, my mom kept a closer eye on me, and she found that whenever I would bend over to pick something up, I'd fall down. My mom called the doctor again, and that's when they admitted me into the McCady Hospital, where they could observe me for 5 days straight and possibly find out what was going on with my body. After lots of tests and observations, the doctors diagnosed me with Myositis Ossificans. Myositis Ossificans is also known as Fibrodysplasia, or FOP for short, and also stoneman syndrome. But since it's quite the mouthful and a little easier to say, I have stuck with the original diagnosis. As anyway you look at it, though, the diagnosis is medical jargon for muscle calcification. Basically, what happens is when my muscles get bumped, bruised, cut, or traumatized in some other way, the muscles slowly turn to bone. Over time, my muscles, tendons, and ligaments have formed an extra skeleton under my skin. With a bruised muscle here or there, my legs and arms would no longer be able to be moved or bent. Eventually, this is turning me into a statue-like form, basically what you see my body is today. And initially, the doctors had only given my parents, or gave me, a 13-year life expectancy, but I am 53 and am still going strong. According to the FOP Association, this condition has been known as one of the rarest, most disabling genetic conditions known to modern medicine, with only 2,500 confirmed cases across the globe. I am just one of about 285 confirmed cases recorded in the United States. Sometimes I get asked if I met someone with the same condition, to which I've replied that I have not, but that isn't completely true. Thanks to modern technology, I have made several friends on Facebook that have it, and one of whom I have talked with over the phone. Anyway, this is where I'll end segment 3. Thank you for listening, reading, or watching. I hope that you enjoyed my story thus far. Have a wonderful day. Keep smiling, and God bless.